Hey everyone, welcome in to another daily editorial here on the KE Report. We're getting an update from Kuya Silver, traded on the CSE under the symbol KUYA, and on the OTCQB under the symbol KUYAF. We are chatting with the president and CEO, David Stein. Now, Kuya Silver really focused at this Bethania silver project in central Peru. We've chatted with David numerous times on the balance here between exploring and continuing to build on the resource. The most recent resource was announced January of this year, as well as a PEA that came out in May of this year. Now, the company is continuing to explore. Well, they also have this, I guess, near-term production potential, more toll milling that we have discussed before. We'll also circle around to that later on in this interview. First and foremost, though, David, the company just announced news November 14th that outlines some surface sample results from this Carmlitas Prospect and also touches on this new discovery, the Carmlitas Norte. Now, these numbers are coming in at quite high-grade silver. The headline number outlines a little over 1,900 grams per ton silver equivalent. There's a gold component, lead component, and a zinc component. Speak to us, David, about the exploration strategy here at this Bethania project, more importantly, at this Carmlitas Prospect.
Sure. Carmelitas, we acquired it a year ago, and we were busy with Bethania and doing other things, so we haven't done a lot of work on it. But we were able to get out into the field very recently and do a sampling program. And remember, Carmelitas is a mine that was in production before we bought it up until 2020, kind of an artisanal or very small tonnage type mine, but with veins that you can see, map, sample at surface, as well as a few of these underground adits that are there. So anyway, we did some more extensive sampling and mapping, found a whole bunch of new veins that we didn't know about previously, got some very good results in terms of this silver-polymetallic mineralization, very, very similar to what we have at Bethania, 3 kilometers to the east of us from Carmelitas, or Carmelitas is 3 kilometers west of Bethania. And then the other thing that we're very excited about is that we went north of the mine, and our geologists found a new zone there, which we were calling Carmelitas Norte, and it's another kind of package of veins that outcrop that we can sample at surface. And the best result that we got in the whole program was actually from Carmelitas Norte. So that's nice, first of all, just to make a new discovery, and then second of all, the best results happen to be from that new discovery area. Is very, very exciting. So we're thrilled with it. I mean, from a practical point of view, this is following very much on how Bethania has evolved over time, where you pick up these veins at surface. In the case of the miners that were here before us, they would start mining these veins in the side of the hill. In our case, we'll more likely go for a drill program and define a resource, see which veins are better, which ones have higher grade, thicker zones, etc., to build on sort of more tonnage and get a resource together. But anyway, that's exactly what we did with Bethania. And I mean, Bethania is still very, very early days in terms of its potential and the size potential there. But it's nice to have a second project in the same area, or a second prospect in the same area, where we could be mining one day and processing that material at Bethania.
Well, David, that's exactly what I was thinking as you were discussing this, is that it's nice to have this second possible deposit forming where you could have both going at the same time as part of the future mine strategy. I realize it's still very early days at Carmelitas, so I'm sure people reading this press release will want to know, what is the exploration program as far as the follow-up here? Will there be a drill program coming up in 2023 at Carmelitas?
I think ideally, we haven't planned it yet, but ideally we would. I think that's a logical next step. I mean, perhaps we need to look at this data more carefully and do a more extensive surface program as well, just to hone our targets in even more. But I think from an exploration point of view, our first priority is still to make Bethania bigger, because that's the low-hanging fruit, and we already have the resource there. We know where the veins are going, so we know where to drill next. So we'll get more bang for our buck, I think, by drilling at Bethania in the very short term. But that being said, we're not going to forget about Carmelitas. And we do want to drill it as soon as we can.
How much more work needs to happen at Carmelitas then, if you were to drill it? Because right now it's just surface samples, right? So anything else that needs to happen to further refine any drill target?
The one thing we may consider doing, if it's safe to do so, is actually go underground and do sampling at the main mine area, because that would basically give us samples then in three dimensions instead of just two, and that's obviously very useful to have when you look at drilling. But we haven't. So that's something we may do. It's not. We don't have to do it, but that would be a nice to have. And then no. Otherwise, I think we just need to start, some methodical drilling from surface and seeing where these veins go at depth and which zones are better, are the best ones. With sort of the thickest zones and the highest grade. That's what you want to target in a vein system like this with so many veins. They're not all going to be winners, but we have so many that chances are very, very good that we'll have some good mineralization at depth.
I guess before we get into some of the potential near-term production drivers at Bethania, let's just stick with exploration on Bethania. Maybe remind people just how this year's program went, and everything flowing into that big resource update, but also what you're looking forward to in 2023 as far as exploration to keep expanding Bethania.
Sure. So if we take a step back, remind people where we started with Bethania. We didn't have a 43-101 resource when we bought the mine. We kind of had an idea of what should be there based on the underground mining and sampling that had taken place by the previous owners. But we did a drill program kind of targeting around the mine workings and a little bit at depth of the lowest mine level. And then that's what led to our current resource estimate that we have today. But that again is that's sort of around the mine workings. That's stuff that we should be able to go in and start mining right away. And that was the reason we targeted that area, was because we wanted to build a mine plan around it, and we did. So now I think the next step with Bethania now is to really start drilling deeper and along strike of the veins to start building more resources, sort of a methodical way. We know the deposit, or all the veins in the Bethania mine, are open at depth, and some of our best drill results were the deepest holes that we drilled in the last program. So definitely want to go and drill deeper there. That would be our priority number one for future drilling at Bethania, and most likely we'll do that by setting up drills underground instead of drilling from surface, because that will get us closer to the targets. And then we have the hilltop zone as well, which we made discoveries in 2021 and 2022 in the hilltop zone, where there's another sort of cluster of veins, and it's only about 500 meters away from the main mine area. But we have some of our best samples in that area that we've ever taken at surface. So we definitely want to go and drill there from surface as well and start trying to figure out what the resources might look like, or what the veins might look like at depth there. And so that would be our priority number two from a Bethania point of view. And I think both of those areas have huge potential to add to our resource base. The drilling at depth is kind of a no-brainer. Like the veins are all open, so we know there's going to be something there. It's just a matter of how much and how good it is. And then the hilltop zone is looks pretty good as well. So that's what we'll be doing.
All right, so David, I think we all know just how tough this market has been, and there's a balance here for all exploration companies in terms of how much money you put into the ground, what value you'll see from that money, even when you have as many targets as it sounds like you do. That brings in this whole toll milling potential, where the company could go through some underground rehabilitation work and send that ore off to some other mills in the area. We've discussed this in the past. In this generally weaker environment for silver, is this still an option for the company?
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, we spend much of our time talking about the production scenarios at Bethania, because it is something unique about our company, is that we are a near-term producer, and from the time we pull the trigger, we could be in production within months. that's something that makes Kuya unique, and obviously not too many juniors have that ability that we do. Toll milling would be the cheapest from a capex point of view and the quickest in terms of production scenarios for us. Something we are looking at very, very carefully here in this weaker market that we've been in. As a way to at least start to be able to do some work underground with respect to the rehab and underground development that we talked about. And then get some production that even at these prices, $20, $21, $22 an ounce, we should be able to make a little bit of cash flow doing that, and at least push the project sort of forward to the point where when we are ready, when the market's ready to for us to spend bigger dollars at Bethania, we'll be that much further ahead than we are right now.
Well, David, it kind of makes sense from the standpoint of just getting underground and getting some of that work going and understanding things a bit better. But also, even if you could make a little cash flow with it, couldn't you then start applying that towards some of the capex needed and/or put it towards exploration?
You're right. Yeah, we can do that. We can, make those capital allocation decisions once we have that cash flow, and that's a nice problem to have. But yeah, anything we can make on a cash flow point of view is going to reduce our financing needs in the future. And, that is always a good thing. It means there's going to be less dilution to shareholders, which should lead to higher returns. So that is the goal, is to do that.
David, what news should we watch out for then in terms of potential toll milling agreements, in terms of plans for next year exploration-wise? What is on tap for the company?
Well, on the toll milling side, I guess we would provide some kind of update on that once we have the toll milling agreement, for example, and are ready to pull the trigger on that. So we would announce that. So that's something you can watch for in the next couple months. And I think we are going to try and continue to do some exploration. So we'll have some news on that as well.
All right, David, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you for this update. I'm going to post a link to the company's website so you all can read over that recent news. And if you have any follow-up questions, as always, you can email Shad and I. We will get those addressed for you. David, keep us up to date on future news. I like the couple different angles and options that the company has available to it. Of course, it is still that kind of tough market. So we'll follow along and just see what developments come next from the company. Thanks again for your time, David. Keep us up to date on future news.
Thanks, guys.